And anyway, picture this. You're in a jungle, dual-wielding swords, surrounded by monsters, and the main character is shouting something like "Time Rewind" as three versions of herself phase in and out of reality like the universe's least efficient PowerPoint presentation. Congratulations, you're playing Blades of Time. A game that asks the eternal question, what if Tomb Raider, Devil May Cry, and Prince of Persia all got drunk together and forgot who was supposed to design the controls? It's a question that somehow 2012 answered by accident, and the answer is both terrible and magnificent. Blades of Time is the kind of game that exists only because someone said, we already paid the artist for the lava textures, so we might as well ship it. It's part treasure hunt, part fever dream, and part existential crisis. Let's start with the protagonist, Ayumi. She's a treasure hunter, adventurer, dimension-hopping action Barbie, and possibly the only woman in gaming history who narrates her own combat grunts, like she's auditioning for an ASMR channel. Ayumi's personality is best described as if Lara Croft and a TikTok influencer fused in a magical forge built entirely from leather straps. She's confident, snarky, and makes more quips per minute than Spider-Man on a sugar rush. Every time she says something like, "That was close," you can almost hear the developers congratulating themselves for writing dialogue in English instead of pure exacerbated screams. Now, to be clear, Blades of Time is technically a sequel to X-Blades, a game so forgotten that even people who played it think they hallucinated it. But Blades of Time decided it was time to get serious. Gone were the cartoon visuals, now everything had to be gritty. The results? A game that looks like World of Warcraft. You get lush jungles, ruined temples, snow-covered mountains, and entire stretches of what even is this biome. It's gorgeous in that PS3 era way, where everything looks like someone turned the saturation slider too hopeful. And that's the paradox of Blades of Time. It's too ambitious to be bad, too confused to be good, and too self-serious to realize it's accidentally hilarious. Every single system in the game feels like it was developed by a different department that never talked. The combat team wanted Devil May Cry, the puzzle team wanted Prince of Persia, the story team wanted to leave early. Somehow they all compromised. The end product is a game where you're constantly slicing, dashing, and rewinding time to fix problems that the camera itself seems determined to make worse. Let's talk about the time rewind mechanic, because it's the one thing everyone remembers, mostly because it's the only mechanic that isn't just a knockoff or something else. The ideal is actually brilliant in theory. When you need to solve a puzzle, you can rewind time and fight alongside your past self, creating a little echo of your previous actions. Essentially, you form a one-woman co-op team made entirely of your own mistakes. It's genius. A literal embodiment of learning from your past, but in practice, it's chaos. You rewind, duplicate yourself, and suddenly there are three Ayumis running around, all shouting "ha" at once while your frame rate disintegrates into a philosophical statement about entropy. It's the only game where using the time mechanic can both save and end your life simultaneously. But let's rewind to the opening of the game. Ayumi starts off with her companion Zero, exploring a mysterious island that's basically a buffet of ancient ruins and narrative confusion. The story is told through bits of the exposition that sound like they were translated from English into Russian and then back into English. The island has magic, treasure, portals, maybe dragons. The lore is a blender of cliches that someone forgot to put the lid on. But to its credit, the game commits. It never winks, never apologizes. It's like watching someone passionately explain fan fiction about a mythology they invented. Combat, though, that's where the real Blades of Time experience lives. It's fast, flashy, and deeply allergic to consistency. You've got melee attacks, shooting mechanics, magic spells, combos, dodges, and more particle effects than the human eye can legally perceive. When it works, it's thrilling. Ayumi flipping through the air, slicing enemies, time cloning herself like some caffeinated deity of chaos. When it doesn't work, which is 80% of the time, it's a slapstick symphony of missed inputs, camera panic, and enemies that refuse to acknowledge physics. That's like watching a kung fu fight in a washing machine. The upgrade system deserves a special mention because it's both ambitious and unintentionally hilarious. You collect orbs to unlock new abilities, and the menu looks like a tech tree built by someone whose only reference point was a conspiracy corkboard. You never really know what anything does until you try it. Then there's the voice acting. Bless the cast. Truly, they deliver every line like they've been handed a script 5 minutes before recording. Ayumi's voice actress sounds perpetually halfway between flirty and existential tired. Every time she says, "I can do this," you can hear the faint undertone of, "I think." Her narration during gameplay is constant. She's like your own overly talkative GPS. I need to find a way forward. There must be another way. I can feel the magic here. You can mute the game and still hear her voice in your soul. The enemies are a rotating cast of who approved this, from generic lizard men to sentient statues of monsters that look like corrupted Wi-Fi routers. It's a bestiary that feels designed by random number generation. And the boss fights, absolute art. Every boss is a 10-minute lesson in patience and chaos theory. They have huge glowing weak spots, thank you video game law, and attack patterns that range from mildly unfair to hope you saved recently. And yet, somehow, it's fun. That's the great cosmic joke of Blades of Time. For all its technical roughness, for all of its half-baked ideals, there's something infectionally earnest about it. The developers clearly believed in the game. They wanted to make something epic. You can feel it in the dramatic music, the sprawling environments, the sheer enthusiasm of the cutscenes. The game isn't cynical, it's just wildly overconfident. It reminds you of a time when video games didn't have to be polished, prestige products. When a weird, mid-budget studio could say, what if we made Bayonetta, but with time clones and snow levels? And someone said, yeah, sure, ship it. It's a relic of that Xbox 360, PS3 golden age of jank, when ambition regularly outpaced reality, and players were better off for it. But let's not get too romantic. There are puzzles where the solution is use your time clone, except your time clone refuses to cooperate because the game engine decided today was a day for creative interpretation. There are sequences where the camera locks behind a wall and you're forced to fight enemies you can't see, guided only by Yumi's constant verbal updates and a faint smell of burning polygons. The game even tries to have emotional stakes. Ayumi and Zero have this love-hate, maybe romantic, maybe sibling dynamic that's so confusing. He betrays her, maybe. She gets mad, maybe. Then they both fight the ultimate evil, which might be a god or a sorcerer or possibly a metaphor for bad game design. The final scenes are full of shouting, glowing lights, and a general sense of let's wrap this up before the budget runs out. And yet, as the credits roll, you can't help but feel a strange affection. You just played something truly unique, not because it was perfect, but because it tried to be. Let's talk briefly about the environments again, because if nothing else, this game knew how to commit to a mood. The jungle ruins shimmer with sunlight and vines, the snowfields glisten, the mechanical zones hum with steam and gears like a steampunk theme park that failed safety inspection. There's even a flying ship level that's equal parts Treasure Planet and Migraine. It's a world that never stops trying to impress you, even when it's tripping over its own ambition. And honestly, Ayumi's design is emblematic of the entire project. She's stylish, over the top, and clearly designed by someone who believes in the power of unnecessary belts. Her outfit is part armor, part runway show, part please don't tell HR. She's the physical embodiment of the early 2010s aesthetic. That strange period where every protagonist had to look ready for both battle and a nightclub. Playing Blades of Time in 2025 feels like discovering a fossil of an alternate gaming timeline. It's not nostalgia, it's archaeology. You start to appreciate the rough edges, the sincerity, the sheer audacity of it all. In a world of ultra-polished AAA titles and minimalist indie darlings, there's something comforting about a game that just goes for it. It's not ironic, it's not calculated. It's just a game about a woman with swords, shouting at time, killing monsters, and somehow making you root for her. The funniest part is that underneath the chaos, Blades of Time actually had great ideals. The time clone mechanic, ahead of its time. The combination of melee, magic, and gunplay, ambitious. The world design, surprisingly varied. It's like a rough draft of a masterpiece that never got finished because someone spilled coffee on the code. If it just had one more year, one more rewrite, one more QA pass, who knows? It might have been a cult classic. Instead, it's a cult oddity. A game people remember not because it was great, but because it was memorable. And maybe that's the real point here. Games like Blades of Time are the reason gaming culture is interesting. Perfection is boring. The weird, the flawed, the audacious. That's where you find soul. There's honesty and imperfection. When Ayumi rewinds time to fix her mistakes, she's basically the game's own metaphor. It's constantly trying to rewind to do better, to make sense of self. And even when it fails, it keeps trying. That's more than you can say for a lot of modern games that play it safe. So yes, Blades of Time is clunky, it's bugged, it's weird, but it's also full of heart, creativity, and that reckless optimism that defined a generation of mid-tier games. It's like a mixtape of ideals that never quite sync up, but somehow still make music. You can laugh at it, you should laugh at it, but you'll kind of also love it because it's trying so hard to impress you that by the end you can't help but cheer it on. If you never played it, do it now, not to be impressed, but to be entertained by the sheer audacity of existence. Watch as Ayumi rewinds time to save herself, only to accidentally fall off a cliff again. Marvel at the dialogue that feels like it was translated by an enthusiastic ghost. Revel in the absurdity of the game that believes deep down that it's telling an epic story about destiny and redemption. In the end, Blades of Time isn't a masterpiece, but it's a reminder that games don't have to be. They just have to be alive, and Blades of Time is very much alive. A sword-clanging, time-rewinding love letter to the sheer joy of trying something wild.